Section 1. The feeling of never having enough time. Have you ever looked at someone's life and quietly wondered, how do they seem to have more time than everyone else? Not just a little more, but noticeably more. As if their days stretch further, as if their hours somehow carry more weight, more meaning, more results. While your days feel tight, packed, rushed from the moment they begin. You wake up, and before anything even happens, it already feels full. Not full in a satisfying way. Not the kind of full that makes you feel accomplished, but the kind that feels heavy, almost suffocating, like there's too much to do, and not enough space to do it. Your mind starts listing things before you even get out of bed. Emails to answer, calls to return, errands you forgot yesterday, things you promised you'd do later. And now later has arrived. And by the time the day ends, you're exhausted. Your body feels it. Your mind feels it. Even your mood feels it. But when you stop and look back, it's hard to clearly say what you actually accomplished. You were busy, constantly doing something, moving from one thing to the next, answering, responding, handling. It never really stopped, and yet, there's this quiet, uncomfortable truth sitting underneath it all. It doesn't feel like progress. It feels like motion, movement without direction, like walking fast, but not knowing where you're going. Or worse, like running on a treadmill. The effort is there, the energy is there, you're sweating, you're pushing, you're trying, but when it's over, you're still in the same place. If that feeling sounds familiar, if you've had days like that, weeks like that, maybe even months like that, then you already understand the frustration. You already know that strange mix of stress and disappointment. Because it's not just about being tired, it's deeper than that. It's the feeling that your time is slipping through your hands, like you're trying your best. But your best isn't turning into real results. And that feeling doesn't just pass, it builds. Quietly. Day after day, week after week, until it turns into something heavier. A kind of quiet doubt that sits in the background. Maybe I'm not managing my time well. Maybe I'm not disciplined enough. Maybe I'm missing something other people seem to understand. I used to think that way too. I would look at people who seemed to handle everything. People building careers, running businesses, taking care of their families, staying healthy, still finding time to learn, to grow, to improve themselves. And I would wonder, what do they know that I don't? What's the secret? Because it didn't look like they were working twice as hard. It didn't look like they were constantly stressed or overwhelmed. In fact, it often looked like the opposite. They seemed calm, focused, intentional, while I felt scattered, pulled in different directions, trying to keep up with everything, and somehow still falling behind. My to-do list was always full. Actually, more than full. Overflowing. I would check one thing off, and two more would appear. Sometimes I wouldn't even write them down anymore, because the list felt endless, and even when I wasn't working, even when I was sitting down to eat, or lying in bed, or spending time with family, part of my mind was still running, still thinking about what I hadn't done, still reminding me of unfinished things. The stress didn't come from one big problem. It came from accumulation. Small tasks, small responsibilities, small decisions, all stacking on top of each other until it felt like too much. Too much to hold in your head, too much to organize, too much to even think about clearly. And this is where the real problem begins. Because when everything feels important, nothing actually is. When everything feels urgent, you lose the ability to choose what matters most. You stop deciding, you start reacting, you answer whatever is loudest, whatever is closest, whatever is right in front of you. You wake up, check your phone, you reply to messages, you open your email, you deal with whatever shows up, you move from one task to another. Not because you planned it that way, but because something pulled you there. And at the end of the day, you feel like you worked hard because you did, but you can't point to something meaningful that actually moved forward. This isn't a problem of effort. It's not that you're lazy. It's not that you don't care. It's not even about motivation. It's a problem of structure, because without structure, time becomes messy. Not messy in a way you can see on a desk, but messy in your mind. An invisible clutter, filling every corner of your day. And that clutter creates friction. It slows you down. It drains your energy. It makes simple things feel harder than they need to be. So the question isn't, how do I work harder? It isn't, how do I do more? The real question is, why does my time feel so disorganized in the first place? And once you start to see the answer, once you really understand it, things begin to shift. Section 2. The junk drawer. That is stealing your life. Think about a junk drawer. Most homes have one. Maybe it's in your kitchen. Maybe in a hallway cabinet. A drawer where everything ends up. Old batteries. Receipts you forgot to throw away. Random cables you're not sure. You still need pens that sometimes work, sometimes don't. At first, it seems harmless, even helpful. You don't have to think too much. You don't have to organize. You just open the drawer and drop things in. Simple, convenient. But over time, that drawer becomes something else. Cluttered, messy, hard to use. Because when you actually need something, you have to dig. You move things around. You search. Sometimes you can't find what you're looking for at all, even though you know it's in there somewhere. Now imagine your time working the same way. Instead of organizing it, instead of giving different parts of your life their own space, you throw everything into one big mental drawer. Work tasks, personal errands, family responsibilities. Health goals, social plans, messages, notifications, even moments of distraction, all mixed together, no structure, no clear boundaries, just one long stream of activity. And when everything is in the same place, everything competes for your attention. There's no order, no system, no clear sense of what matters most. So what happens? You default to what's easiest, what's loudest, what's most immediate. You reply to emails because they're right in front of you. You answer messages because they feel urgent. You attend meetings because they're scheduled, even if they don't really matter. And slowly, your day fills up, not with what's important, but with what happens. And this is where the illusion begins. The illusion of productivity. Because you're doing things all the time. You're not sitting around. You're not obviously wasting time, but you're not directing your time either. You're letting it be directed by other people, by notifications, by whatever shows up, and that creates a quiet shift. You stop being proactive and you become reactive. Instead of asking, what should I focus on today? You start asking, what needs my attention right now? Those are two very different questions. One leads to progress, the other leads to busyness. This is why you can spend an entire day working and still feel like nothing important moved forward. Because the important things are rarely urgent. They don't shout, they don't demand, they don't interrupt you. They wait quietly in the background until you choose to focus on them. But in a junk drawer system, you rarely make that choice because your attention is always being pulled away by things that feel urgent, even when they're not important. And so the cycle continues. You react all day. You feel busy. You feel tired. But the important work stays untouched. So it rolls over to tomorrow, and then to the next day, and the next. And each time, it feels heavier. Because now it's not just a task. It's something you've been avoiding. Something you know you should have done already. And that creates pressure, which makes it even harder to start. And this is how people start to feel stuck. Not because they don't have time, but because their time is scattered, fragmented, broken into too many pieces. And when your attention is fragmented, your energy follows, you can't focus deeply, you can't think clearly, you can't build momentum. You're always switching, adjusting, reacting, and that constant switching is exhausting. It drains your mental energy. It makes even simple things feel difficult. And over time, it affects more than your productivity. It affects your mood, your patience, your relationships, your sense of control. Because when you always feel like you're catching up, you never feel ahead, you never feel calm, you never feel in control. And that is the real cost of the junk drawer way of living. Not just inefficiency, but a loss of direction, a loss of clarity, a loss of confidence. So, the solution isn't to squeeze more into the drawer. It's not to try harder. It's not to move faster. The solution is to change the system, to stop treating time like one messy container, and start treating it like something that can be organized, structured, used with intention. Section 3. Building your time toolbox and taking back control. Now imagine something different. Instead of a junk drawer, think of a toolbox. Not just any toolbox, but one that's neatly organized. Every tool has its place. You know exactly where to reach. No digging, no guessing, no frustration, just clarity, just purpose. If you've ever watched someone skilled, a mechanic, a carpenter, even someone fixing things at home, you'll notice something. They don't throw everything together. They organize different tools for different tasks because they understand something simple. The right tool, used at the right time, makes everything easier, more precise, more effective. You need to start thinking about your time the same way, not as one long, continuous block, but as something that can be divided, organized, used intentionally. And this is where a simple idea comes in. The 4-quadrant toolbox. It's not complicated, but it changes the way you see everything. Imagine a square. Divide it into 4 parts. Each part represents a different type of activity. The first quadrant, urgent and important. These are the things that truly need immediate attention. Deadlines, crises, problems that must be handled now. Think of this as your emergency tools, necessary, but not where you want to spend all your time. The second quadrant, important, but not urgent. This is where your real life is built. Your health, your relationships, your goals, your long-term growth. These things don't shout. They don't demand attention right now. But over time, they shape everything. This is the most important space. The third quadrant, urgent, but not important. Interruptions, many meetings, most emails. Things that feel pressing, but don't truly matter in the bigger picture. These are distractions in disguise. The fourth quadrant, neither urgent nor important. Mindless scrolling, activities that pass time, but don't add value. Now here's the truth. Most people spend their time in the wrong places. They live in urgency, they react to interruptions, they drift into distraction, and they neglect the one area that actually moves their life forward. The fifth, important, but not urgent, because it requires intention. It requires planning. It requires choosing something before it becomes urgent. Let's go back to Sarah. Before she changed her system, her days felt chaotic. She woke up and immediately reacted. Emails, messages, requests, everything pulling her attention. By the time she thought about her own goals, she was already tired, already out of time. So those goals kept getting pushed aside. Again and again. But when she started using this toolbox way of thinking, she made one simple change. She planned her time based on importance, not urgency. She scheduled her run in the morning before anything else could interrupt. She blocked time for deep work, protected it, treated it like it mattered. Because it did. She set specific times to check email, Instead of letting it interrupt her all day, and slowly, something changed. Not overnight. Not perfectly, but steadily. She started to feel in control again. Not because she suddenly had more time, but because she was using her time differently. She wasn't reacting to everything anymore. She was choosing what mattered, and that choice changed how she felt. Less stressed, more focused, more present. Even with her family. Because she wasn't carrying unfinished important work in the back of her mind anymore. She was actually moving forward, and that's what this toolbox gives you. Clarity, direction, a sense of control. It helps you see your time differently. Not as something slipping away, but as something you can shape, something you can design. So here's where you begin. Take a piece of paper. Draw 4 boxes. Look at your tasks honestly. Not based on what feels urgent, but based on what is actually important. And then make one small commitment. Just one. Block 1 hour. For something important, but not urgent. Protect that hour. Treat it like it matters. Because it does, and see what happens. Because once you feel that difference, once you experience what it's like to work with intention, instead of reaction, you start to realize something powerful. You never needed more time. You just needed a better way. To use the time you already had.